Okay, so I'm sure you're all aware of the very sad news about the Titan sub. The remains of that wreckage were found about 1,600 feet away from the wreck of the Titanic. As some people said in the comments, we can now add 5 more people to that tragedy. Now, yesterday we did do a video. We were editing a video that we'd filmed when the news came out that they'd found the sub. And we decided to scrap that video because there was a lot of information in there that was really moot, because, that they'd actually found it. We were still discussing air, oxygen, all that kind of stuff. So we thought, well, there's no point putting this out now. So we scrapped it and we put out the press conference instead, just so we had something on the channel so people would know what was happening, in case you didn't already know. Now, since then, James Cameron has done a series of interviews about this, the company, and about the type of sub, and a lot of information. Now, if you didn't know, he's not just a film director, he is a submersible enthusiast, you might say, and he's actually designed and built his own submersible that has gone to depths 3 times the depth of the Titanic wreck. So he knows a thing or two about this kind of technology, and he's been very critical of this sub, the Titan, the one that has been destroyed. And he did a series of interviews, like I said, and there was some really interesting information in there, and some actually quite tragic, because he said that when he heard that the sub had gone missing, he jumped on a phone, made a bunch of phone calls, sent a lot of emails, and within an hour and a half, he had the following information. He said, because it's a small community, he said that they were on descent, they were at about 3,500 feet, which is about 1,000 meters, and they had dropped their weights and they were trying to ascend. So they clearly had an emergency. They'd lost comms and they lost tracking. Now, what he said, they had a transponder on the sub, and he said the fact that they lost comms and tracking at the same time, he said, I knew the sub was lost. That's a quote from James Cameron. He said he got back on to phone calls and contacted various different people, and he talked about the acoustic networks that they have that listen for this kind of thing, for various reasons, scientific and military as well. And he said that he got confirmation that they had heard a noise consistent with an implosion at the time they lost comms and the transponder of the vessel. He said, so he knew straight away that it was lost, and that was on the Monday. But the search went on for another 3 days. Now, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there already that it's a cover-up for political things going on in the US. I'm not going to get into any of that. But what I will say is that from a military point of view, and they were the ones in the lead for the search and rescue of the sub, you keep going until you can get proper confirmation. And that is usually eyes-on confirmation to say that it is what it is, right? You can't just take information and say, okay, well, we're going to call off the search, because in the slim chance that that information is incorrect, you might have let them die by not searching for them. So completely understand why they continue the search. Another bit of information, which is a strange twist of irony really, is that Stockton Rush, who is the CEO of OceanGate and was the pilot on board the day that this happened, his widow now, her great-great-grandparents were actually on board the Titanic, and they never made it off. They were killed on the Titanic. Now, what James Cameron had said, and he said in this interview, is that a lot of people in the submersible community had got together and wrote to Stockton Rush and OceanGate saying, you have to certify. You cannot take people down unless you certify. It's irresponsible and it could lead to catastrophe. Now, that this vessel was not regulated. It was the only vessel doing this type of thing that was not regulated. And another passenger in an interview, he said that he pulled out from going on a trip. And he said that Stockton Rush had flatly refused to get any type of certification on the sub. And in an interview, Stockton Rush had said that he didn't want to let regulation get in the way of innovation, which is not a good thing to say, is it? I mean, it sounds cool, but if you're doing something that's potentially dangerous, then you need to get certified. You need to play by the rules. I'll play a bit from the video of James Cameron talking about why they shouldn't use carbon fiber and steel composite to make a sub.
I never believed in that technology of wound carbon fiber, wound filament, cylindrical hull. I thought it was a horrible idea. I wish I'd spoken up, but I assumed somebody was smarter than me, because I'd never experimented with that technology, but it just sounded bad on its face because we make pressure hulls out of contiguous material: steel, titanium, ceramic, acrylic. And so you can model it, you can do finite element analysis of it, and you understand the yield properties, you understand the number of cycles that it can take. But you can't do that with a composite material because it's two dissimilar materials, sort of bonded together. And so we all knew that the danger was delamination and progressive failure over time with microscopic water ingress and fatigue, what they call cycling fatigue. And we knew that if the sub passed its pressure test, it wasn't going to fail on the first dive. It might fail on dive 7, or I don't know what they're at, but it's going to fail over time, which is insidious. You don't get that with steel or with titanium.
Now, if you want to see the full video, I'll put a link in the corner here, and I'll also put a link in the description. It's not a very long video. I think it might be 5 to 10 minutes long. I'll put a link down there anyway. Hi, thanks very much for watching this video. You've been watching a Super Yacht News clip. If you'd like to see the full unedited Super Yacht News video, you can click on the link over here. You can also find our channel links below here. And if you'd like to see more shorter videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to this channel.